So it's now 2025, and you've managed to be productive for a couple of weeks. You're managing to exercise regularly, meditate, and complete all your work on schedule. Then, as time passes, you start to notice that your enthusiasm is waning, and your productivity starts to falter. You miss workouts, stop meditating, and deadlines are missed. And you wonder, what happened? You start to notice this also affecting other parts of your life, leading to habits that you thought you got rid of. You start watching more TV, eating unhealthy, and lying around a lot more. Don't worry, you're not alone. This happens to a lot of people, and today's book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, which delves into how to stay being productive and how to get those habits to stick for more than just a few weeks. We will also explain why habits are so important and why we don't follow through with our habits. So habits are generally thought of as small changes made to your daily routine. And I mean, how much change can they actually make? Well, let's give you an example. Say you did a small daily habit that just improved your skill by 1%. Let's say it made you better at guitar by 1%. Well, if you kept improving by 1% for every day for the whole year, you'd be a staggering 37 times better than when you started. And this just emphasizes how big an impact a small change can have over time. And this means both the power of good habits on having a successful life and the destructive effect of bad habits on reaching your goals. In this video, we will first review the book and then give a summary of the book where we'll break down the 4 key laws of habit formation and how to make your habits become long-term using techniques such as habit loops, environment modification, and habit stacking. So let's start with the review of this book. This book focuses on the laws of habit formation and how we can either implement them in our own lives or how we can change them to remove negative habits. So let's begin first by the positives of this book. Firstly, it provides very practical advice which you can easily implement into your life. Secondly, it utilizes a lot of research from behavioral science to make its recommendations. And finally, the work is written in a very engaging way which keeps you interested in reading the book. Okay, now let's look at the negatives of this book. So firstly, I found this book a bit repetitive as some concepts are very similar to one another. And secondly, there's a lack of depth. And this is always a problem when a book is designed to be more practical and engaging. This often means it will sacrifice on how deep it can go into any specific topic. So my opinion of this book is that it's definitely worth reading, especially if you are interested in how to implement and maintain new habits, or if you are interested in how to eliminate negative habits. So now let's look at the summary of this book. In this book, there are 4 steps or laws to help you make habits stick. Let's go through each step with an example on how to implement it. So the first law is make it obvious. You see, habits are activities which over time become automatic, and then we stop needing to pay attention to what we are doing. So in order to change a habit or to create a new habit, we first need to be aware of our existing habits. So the first thing to do is to make a list of all your habits in a single day. Once you have this list of habits, you can then decide which habits you wish to keep, which habits you wish to change, and which new habits you wish to add. So now that you're aware of all the habits you do in a day, if you wish to add a new habit, this is what you would do. So you see the 3 key things you need to record is what the behavior is, the time and the location you will do it at. And if you wish to make this habit even more effective, you can also stack it with another habit you already do. For instance, you can say after X habit, I will do Y habit. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 10 minutes. We can also invert this process to eliminate bad habits. For example, we are going to make the habit invisible. If the habit you wanted to eliminate is to reduce the amount of sweets you eat, you could then take the sweets off your countertop and place them somewhere where you cannot see them. What behavioral science tells us is that people who succeed at forming good habits and eliminating bad habits spend less time in tempting situations, as it's easier to avoid temptation than to resist it. Self-control can work, but usually is more of a short-term strategy and requires a lot more willpower. It is better to avoid temptation than to try to resist it. A good example of using this strategy was done by Google. What Google found is that employees were not making healthy choices around what they ate at the canteens, and they wished to improve employee health by promoting healthy food choices. What they did is they removed sweets like M&Ms from a clear container to an opaque container and moved it somewhere less visible and less accessible. And then they took healthy snacks and they put those in clear containers and made them more easily accessible. The overall result of this small change led the 2,000 employees that worked at the New York branch to consume 3.1 million fewer calories from M&Ms over the course of 7 weeks. And this just shows how effective these small changes can be. So the second step or law is make it attractive. It is often the anticipation of the reward, not the fulfillment of it, that gets us to take an action. The greater the anticipation, the greater the dopamine spike, and thus the motivation to act will rise. To make habits more attractive, one can pair something fun or exciting with your new habit. For example, pairing a daily study session with a sweet treat after the session has been completed. It is also important to understand that your culture affects which behaviors are attractive, so we tend to adopt behaviors and habits which are praised and approved by our culture. The 3 social groups most commonly affecting our behaviors are those close to us, such as friends and family, the majority, and the powerful, those with status or prestige. So how we can use this to our advantage is to either join a culture where the desired behavior is a normal behavior, and secondly, where you also have something in common to bond with the group. For example, when I was studying, I found it easier to always study in the library or with friends as everyone else was studying hard, and this motivated me to study harder as I felt bad if I was the only one not studying. And again, what we can do here is invert this law to eliminate bad habits. Your habits are modern-day solutions to ancient desires. The cause of your habits is actually the prediction of how this habit will make you feel that occurs just before you start the habit. If you highlight and clarify the benefits of avoiding the habit, this can make it less attractive. Furthermore, habits are also seen as attractive when they are associated with positive feelings and unattractive when they are associated with negative feelings. For example, drinking excessive amounts of alcohol might make you feel good at the time, but you usually feel quite bad the next day. If you want to reduce the drinking habit, then you should focus on how bad you feel afterwards and not on the good time you had the day before. The third law is make it easy. The most effective form of learning is practice, so you want to make your habits as easy as possible to practice. The focus should be on doing the habit more than planning for the habit, and over time the habit will become automatic. Secondly, you should focus on doing the habit more than the amount of time spent on the habit. A good rule is the 2-minute rule, where any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to do at first. For example, if you were practicing to learn a new language, what you could do is set the goal to practice 2 minutes every day instead of trying to practice 30 minutes once a week, as this would more likely make it a habit. As humans, we are also inclined to perform the options or activities which require the least effort. So to create the environment where the right habits are easy to do will help you to do the habits. And this is what we call reducing the friction to do those habits. And then we can also do the inverse to eliminate bad habits and increase the amount of effort and friction to do that habit. For instance, say you wanted to read more and play less computer games. Then what you would do is you would make reading easier by setting up a region to read, have a chair ready with your book ready and everything prepared so that it's easy as possible to start reading. And then what you would do to make gaming less easy is you would take your console and unplug it and place it in the cupboard. And one thing to remember is that habits have a further impact on your day more than the time it just takes to complete them. Many habits occur at decisive moments, and these choices can lead to further choices which can be the difference between a productive day and an unproductive day. The fourth law of behavior change is make it satisfying. We are more likely to repeat behaviors which we experience as satisfying, as the human brain evolved to prioritize immediate rewards over delayed rewards. The cardinal rule of behavior change is what is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. To get the habits to stick, you need to feel immediately successful, even if it's in a small way. The first 3 laws of behavior change: make it obvious, make it attractive, and make it easy increase the odds that behaviors will be performed this time. The fourth law, make it satisfying, increases the odds that the behavior will be repeated the next time. One of the most satisfying feelings is the feeling of making progress. A habit tracker is a simple way to measure whether you did a habit, like marking an X on a calendar. Habit trackers and other visual forms of measurement can make your habits satisfying by providing clear evidence of your progress. Habit trackers which show you how many consecutive days you have completed the habit can further aid as motivation, as you won't want to break the chain and lose the streak, so this will motivate you to keep doing the habit. But one thing to remember here is that if you miss one day, try to get back on track as quickly as possible, as you don't want to make this a habit of not doing the habit. And the inversion of the fourth law is make it unsatisfying. A good way to do this is to have an accountability partner, as they can create an immediate cost to inaction. We care deeply about what others think of us, and we do not want others to have a lesser opinion of us. For example, if you wanted to start a meditation habit, what you could do is use a service which you have to mark every day when you meditate, and then you use a friend to check up on you, and if they find that you have missed 2 days, then you can select a fixed amount to pay to a charity. And a bonus here to make it even more unsatisfying is to support an organization that you don't truly want to support, as the fact that you have to pay them makes it even more unsatisfying. So some final tips about choosing the right habits. So the secret to maximizing your odds of success is choosing the right field of competition. Pick the right habit and progress is easy. Pick the wrong habit and life will be a struggle. Your genes cannot easily be changed, which means they can either provide a powerful advantage in favorable circumstances or a serious disadvantage in unfavorable circumstances. Habits are easier when they align with your natural abilities, so choose habits that best suit you. And as those habits become routine, they become less interesting, and this is the greatest threat to success. This is boredom, but not failure. The trick to counter this boredom is that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right at the edge of their current abilities. So make sure when you are practicing your habits that you do make it challenging. Finally, when developing habits which form part of a larger goal, the benefit of the habit is that they allow you to do things that are important to you without thinking. The downside, however, is that you stop paying attention to little errors, and that can impair our progress. To counter this, remember that habits need to be practiced deliberately in order to continually improve. We also need to reflect and review on the habits to help us remain conscious of our progress over time and allow this continual improvement. For example, if your goal is to master playing guitar, having a daily practice session is great, but over time if you keep playing the same song, you will have limited growth in your skills playing the guitar. To add deliberate practice, you need to practice at the limit of your skills, so to try playing more and more difficult songs or playing parts of songs that you're really struggling with. These will help to push your skills and count as deliberate practice. But remember, you have to reflect and review these sessions to see what you need to improve in the future, as this will help you to design your next training session. And that's the end of my video. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos.